up, everybody? InstructaBeats back again. Today we are talking about solving word problems by writing linear equations. Okay, this is linear equation playlist video number 6. We've already talked about how to solve for a solution for a linear equation with and without distributive properties. So now we're going to put that together and take it to word problems today. So our objective today I will be able to solve basic word problems by writing a linear equation in X and solving for X. So here's an I do problem, right? Given a right triangle, find the measure of all the angles in degrees if one angle is a right angle and the measure of the second angle is 6 less than 7 times the measure of the third angle. So that's a lot of words. Let's start with the statement. So my statement's going to simply say the measure of all the angles is blank, blank, and blank, right? Because we know it's a triangle and there are 3. Really, you could try to be smart and say that the measure is 180 because it's a triangle, but we know that they're talking about what are my 3 different angle measurements. Okay, so I want to go back. I want to identify anything in the word problem that's going to help me do that, right? So I know it's a right triangle, which means one of the degrees is going to be a right angle, which, says right here. I know a right angle is really 90 degrees, okay? I know the measure of the second angle, okay, is 6 less than, 7 times the measure of the third angle. So I know my first angle, right, is going to be 90. I already know that. Okay, I can write that in my statement. Okay, my second angle, it gave me a long expression to help me solve that. And so I know my third angle is x, okay, because it was comparing my second angle to my third angle. So the second angle is 6 less than 7 times the third angle. So I know I'm going to have 7x, right, 7 times x, and then I have 6 less than that, right? And so I'm going to have my equation to be 7x minus 6. Now, we want to solve for x. So this goes back to knowing a triangle has 180 degrees in it. So if I add up all my different angles, it should equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to set up my linear equation. 90 plus 7x minus 6 plus x equals 180. And now this has just become a question from our 4th video of how to solve for linear equations using our steps. So the first thing is I want to combine all my like terms, right? So I know right here I have a variable and right here I have a variable. So when I combine those, I'm going to have 8x. I'll do my constants in blue. I won't circle them so it doesn't get too confusing, right? But I have 90 and a negative 6. So when I add those together, right, or subtract them, I'm going to have plus 84, positive 84, okay? And that's going to equal 180. So now, okay, I know I want to follow my next step, which is to make a 0 by doing the inverse operation of a positive number, which is a negative number. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I have 8x equals 96. And when I divide each of those by 8, okay, follow my next step of trying to make a 1, I have x equals 96 divided by 8, which is 12. So I know my third angle now is 12, okay? But now I kind of have to go back and I have to solve my expression for my second angle. So let me go ahead and move this over there, voila. And now I know that x equals 12, so I can go back and I can put 12 in for x for my second angle. That'd be 84. 84 minus 6 is 78. So my second angle should be 78. Now if you want to check this, it should be really easy, right? You can replace your 7x minus 6 with 78. You can replace your x with 12, and you add them all together, and it should equal 180. So if I combine 78 and 12 just to check it, right, I know I'm going to get 90. And then obviously when I add another 90, I have 180. And so I know that my x value was correct, and I solved for my second angle correctly as well. So that kind of looks like a lot of work, but if you notice the steps that I did, I wrote a statement to help guide my thinking. I identified any information that was going to help me write my statement. And then I looked at my keyword 6 less than 7 times, and I picked out which of my angles was going to be x. I wrote each expression, and then I knew because I had identified that it equaled 180, and then it just became a simple linear equation. So I wrote the linear equation to help me solve this question. Let's go ahead and try a we-do. So here we have another triangle question, okay? And this is the same exact question. It says determine the measure of each angle in degrees, right? So the statement we should both be writing is the measure of the angles is R, I'm not sure, I don't teach English, okay? R blank, blank, and blank. So I know I'm going back and looking for anything about angles or degrees. Again, I know I have a triangle because it's talking about angles and a triangle. I know something might be equal to 180 degrees. So it says the measure of the first angle is 6 times a number. When you see this word a number, typically that means that's going to be your variable. That's going to be x. So I know the first angle is going to be 6x. Okay, that's what it's saying in this part right here. The measure of the second angle is 9 less than, right, the first angle. Okay, that's also important. So I know now I'm going to be comparing my second angle to my first angle. And I know the measure of the third angle is 3 times the number more than the measure of the first angle. Okay, so again, I know that this number is talking about x, right? So I'm going to kind of cross it out and put an x right here. So the third angle is going to be 3x, because the number, or a number, right, we talked about being the variable, more than the measure of the first angle. Okay, so I know that more than means I will be adding. And so now let's go ahead and split this up into my first, second, and third angle. I know my first angle is 6 times the number, that was 6x. I know my second angle is 9 less than the first angle. Okay, so my first angle was equal to 6x, so I'm going to have 6x minus 9 set up to be my second angle. So for my third angle, I knew it was 3 times the number, or 3 times x, more than the measure of the first angle, okay? So I'm going to have 3 times x plus my first angle, okay? Because it was 3 times x more than the first angle, which was 6x. Again, I know because this is a triangle, everything was equal to 180 degrees. So now I want to set this up just as a linear equation. So I have 6x plus 6x minus 9 plus 3x plus 6x, and that's going to equal 180 degrees. So the first thing, again, always I want to combine my like terms if there is no distributive property. So I have a lot of different variables right here. Okay, so I'm going to circle anything with a coefficient and a variable, and they're all positive. So I have 12x, 15x, 21x. So I have 21x minus 9 equals 180. Now I want to get rid of my constants and put them on the one side. I want to isolate my variable, so I'll do that by making a 0 that will cross out. And I have 21x equals 189. Now I want to use the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division, to make a 1 right here. So that's going to make a 1. I can get rid of it. And when I divide 189 divided by 21, I'm going to get 9. So the number that I didn't have was 9. X equals 9. Now, that hasn't told me any of my different angles, so now I need to go back and I need to plug in each one. So here I have 6 groups of 9, which is going to be 54. So my first angle is 54. My second angle, again, is 6 groups of 9 minus 9, which you could say is 5 groups of 9, but that's okay. So 54 minus 9, my second angle is 45. Okay, and my third angle, I'm going to just go ahead and combine this to 9x first, and I'm going to do 9 groups of 9, which is 81. And so my third angle was 81. Now if I want to double check this, all I need to do is add them up, and they should equal my degrees at 180, because that is the total degrees of the interior angles of a triangle. So I have 45, or 54 plus 45, that's going to be 99. I'm going to add an 81 to that, and that is going to be 180. So my solution is correct, and my angles make sense because they add up to 180. Again, a lot of work here, but what I did was I wrote a statement to help me know what was important. I identified my keywords. I thought about what my words more than and less than and times mean. And the lesson to take away from this is if it's talking about a number, that's typically going to be your variable. So let's try one more. This one's not going to be about triangles. This is going to be a normal word problem. Let's try one more together. Our last we do. If you are ready, go ahead and push pause. You can try it yourself and then push play and check it. If you're not ready, that's okay. Growth mindset. We can do it together. So my statement should say, my question says, how much does each lemon cost? So my statement should say, each lemon cost blank dollars. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm looking for anything about money and anything about lemons. That's why I write my statement to help me guide my thinking for what's important. So I know there's 8 lemons here. I know there's 5 limes and that the total of that was $16.40. Each lime cost $1.20 more than each lemon, okay? So the tricky thing is that's not $1.20, it's $1.20 more than each lemon. You are trying to figure out how much each lemon costs. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to go back. We want to look for what we know, okay? We know that a lime costs $1.20 more than each lemon. We also know the total is $16.40. We know how much lemons they bought and how many limes Emery bought, okay? So we're looking for how much each lemon costs, okay? That is going to be my X value for this equation. My lemon will be X. So I know if she bought 8 lemons, that's 8X, right? 8 groups of X. I'm going to be adding how much the limes cost. Now I know she bought 5 limes, and I know that the limes cost $1.20 more than each lemon. So she's going to have 5 groups of $1.20 plus a lemon, right? Because the cost of one lime was whatever the lemon was, which is X, plus an extra $1.20. And I know that total that she spent $16.40. So now I have my linear equation. All I need to do is follow my steps. So I need to do my distributive property first. Okay, so let me rewrite that. I'm going to distribute out my 5 to the $1.20 into the X. 5 groups of $1.20 is $6 plus 5X, and I know that is going to equal $16.40. Now I combine my like terms. I combine my variables right here. Okay, so that's going to be 13x plus 6 is going to equal $16.40. I want to make a 0 to isolate my variables. So I'm going to subtract 6 and subtract 6. And I'm going to get 13x equals $10.40. So now I have this decimal. Again, you can be using a calculator to solve these as long as you're writing each step. So I'm going to make a 1 by doing my inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. Those are going to cancel out. And x is going to equal $10.40 divided by 13, which is going to equal 80 cents. So I think a lemon cost 80 cents. Now, I solved this with a linear equation, which means I want to go back and check it to make sure that it is correct. So if I go back to my original equation, let me move everything over. Okay, I have 8 groups of 8/10, which is 80 cents, right? Plus 5 groups of $1.20 plus 80 cents, and that's going to equal $16.40. Okay, got a little messed up right there. Okay, I'll be a little bit neater. So 8 times 80 cents, or 8/10, is going to be 6 and 4/10 plus 5 groups of, this is going to be $2, right? So if I add that together, 5 groups of 2, and that's going to equal $16.40. I know I need to multiply that to make 10, $16.40. When I add that together, I get 16 and 4/10, which is equivalent to 16 and 40 hundredths. And I can see that my answer was correct because my check is balanced. My two sides, my two expressions are equal to each other. Welcome to the challenge zone. So I'm going to begin with a statement. My questions ask me for what is Mark's score. So my statement is going to say, Mark's score is blank points, right? So I'm looking for that. When I go back, I'm looking for anything about points and anything about Mark, obviously. I'm letting my statement guide my thinking. I see that the average score of 3 boys is 638. Now, this is typically is your equal sign, right? Steve's score is twice that of Andrew. Okay, so I know that's going to be multiplication, so I put a box around it just to make it a little bit different than circling. And I know that Mark has 54 points more than Andrew, okay, which is just going to be addition because it didn't say times more than, it just said more. And you're looking for Mark's score. So the first thing I want to do is I want to set up the equation for each of these boys, and then we're going to go back and look at what this word average is, okay? So I have Steve, I have Andrew, and I have Mark. Both Mark and Steve were comparing their score to Andrew, which means Andrew is going to be our variable. It's going to be our x, okay? Steve's score was twice that of Andrew, so 2x. Andrew's obviously x, and then Mark was 54 more than Andrew, which was our x. Now, my statement eventually, whenever I solve this, is going to come back right here to Mark. This is where my answer is going to be. I might have to do other steps to solve it, but at the end of the day, I need to come back and find out how much did Mark score. So I know the average is when you take the total and divide it by the parts. So when I add up all 3 of these boys and divide it by 3, it's going to equal 638. So over here on this side, I'm going to go ahead and write that equation. So I know I have 2x plus 54 plus x. And when I divide all of those by 3, when I find the average of that, that is or equals 638. Well, now I've just set up a normal linear equation. So the first thing I want to do is I want to follow my steps. I don't have distributive property, but I do want to get rid of this fraction that's dividing by 3 by doing the inverse of division to make a 1, which is multiplying. So when I do 3, when I multiply by 3, I get rid of that 3 because I'm making it a 1. And over here I have 638 times 3. So now I got rid of my denominator. Okay, so now I'm just going to rewrite everything one step at a time. And that is going to equal 638 times 3, which is 1,914. Okay, now I'm just following my steps. I want to simplify by combining my like terms. I see right here that I have 3 different variables, which is going to equal 4x. So 4x plus 54 is going to equal 1,914. Scroll down a little bit. Now I want to get rid of my constants. I want to isolate my variable by making a 0 using the inverse operation of addition, which is subtraction. That makes a 0. And I have 4x equals 1,860. Now I want to get rid of my multiplication by making a 1 with my inverse operation division. And when I divide that by 4, I see that x equals 465. Now that's awesome, but that's just what x equaled. That's what Andrew had. We know Andrew now had 465. If I scroll back up though, my statement is not asking me for Andrew. Now I guarantee you if this was a multiple choice test, 465 would be an answer. Okay, so that's why we organized our information to start, and I put my little answer box around Mark just to have it help me know that I still need to find Mark. So now all I need to do, right, is plug in 465 for x. I'm going to add those together, and I know that Mark scored 619 points. Thank you so much for checking us out today. We appreciate you spending our time here with us on our InstructaBeats and our linear equation playlist. We hope you'll check out our other videos and songs at InstructaBeats Official. Follow us on Instagram at InstructaBeats. Thank you so much. Enjoy linear equations. Hop on that train and let it take you to math greatness. InstructaBeats out.